A Taiwanese politician is sentenced to jail time in China. What's the holdup with the Taiwanese release of a massively popular Chinese video game? TaiwanPlus asks the distributor in an exclusive interview. Taiwan's top envoy to Ho Chi Minh City says there's room for cooperation with Vietnam on chips. Plus, Taipei Music Center gets creative with technology to help people with cerebral palsy experience music. A warm welcome to Taiwan Plus News. I'm Leslie Liao. The Mainland Affairs Council has condemned the sentencing of a Taiwanese politician in China to 9 years in prison for secession. Yang Zhiyuan was arrested in China in 2022 while on a visit for a board game competition. Tiffany Wong reports.
34-year-old Yang Zhiyuan has been sentenced to 9 years in prison in China. The Taichung native was a former member of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party and left that group to co-found a fringe group called the Taiwan National Party in 2011. Yang frequently made trips to China, and CCTV aired video of Chinese state security officers detaining and questioning Yang in Wenzhou, Zhejiang province in 2022. He was arrested just hours after former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrapped up her visit to Taiwan, a visit that triggered a lot of anger from China. They accused Yang of being involved in Taiwan's separatist activities and endangering national security. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council says that the government here and Yang's family have condemned the ruling, which came after a closed trial. This is the first time a Taiwanese person has been sentenced in China since Beijing announced a set of punishments in June for dealing with what it calls die-hard Taiwan independence separatists, which include the death penalty. The Mainland Affairs Council warned that Beijing could use guidelines like these to arrest any Taiwanese person. Lian Lian, Eason Pan, and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for Taiwan Plus.
Former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je has lost his appeal and is back in detention as part of an anti-corruption investigation. It's left his Taiwan People's Party in damage control. John Van Trieste has the latest.
Just days after his release, former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je is handcuffed and led into a police van. As allegations of corruption during his time as mayor hang in the air, prosecutors convinced the court to reverse its decision to let Ko go for the time being. While this second arrest wasn't a total surprise, it has the party Ko founded, the Taiwan People's Party, in emergency mode. The head of the party's caucus had to cut short a radio interview after news broke and party leaders called an urgent meeting. The question at hand is whether Ko helped the owner of a shopping mall get planning permission to massively expand its floor space. Ko says he knew nothing about the matter, but prosecutors think there may have been a corrupt deal involving Ko and other city officials, and that the extra floor space earned the mall's owner around $625 million in illicit extra profits. Ko has tried to reassure his supporters in a recorded message, saying the media and his rivals are trying to smash political opposition, but that he'll fight to the end. And his party has rallied around a criticism of the entire legal process. As Ko's party maintains Ko's innocence, the other two main parties say they'll leave it to the courts to decide.
我们认为此案的关键在于证据，而不是政治。没有人可以操弄司法，民众党也不要来操弄民粹，就让证据说话，大家一起尊重法官的裁定。
面对所有的司法案件，国民党一向秉持着勿枉勿纵的态度，强调程序正义、司法公平，希望司法单位能够依据事实证据办案。
But Ko's fate could have big political consequences. This legislature is split three ways, with no majority. Though the smallest of the three, Ko's party, which centers on him, is therefore the decider. This scandal from years ago may just upset the political balance of power for years to come. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for Taiwan Plus.
Shoppers continue to face mounting expenses as rising produce prices drive up Taiwan's consumer price index. The index, which measures the average price of consumer goods, grew 2.36% year-on-year in August. It's the fourth month in a row with year-on-year growth, surpassing the government's 2% inflation warning mark. Officials say fruit and vegetable prices are still feeling the effects of Typhoon Kemi, but price drops for other items like clothing and toilet paper have slightly offset their increase. A former Philippine mayor accused of working with the Chinese criminal syndicates has arrived in Manila after being arrested on the run in Indonesia. Alice Guo requested protection from Filipino authorities, claiming she had received death threats.
Meron po akong death threats po at humingi po ako ng tulong po sa kanila.
Guo has been on the run since July, accused of protecting online casinos, which were a front for scam centers and human trafficking syndicates. The investigation has also led to questions about her background. Guo says she was born in the Philippines, but authorities have found her fingerprints match those of a Chinese national. Filipino authorities are urging Guo to cooperate with investigations.
Yung nga ang sinasabi namin kay Alice, huwag kang matakot. Huwag kang matakot. Kung ikaw natatakot sa buhay mo, we will provide you all of the security ng kailangan mo. Importante lang, ituro mo ang mga taong malalaking ito. Lahat ng pangalan ibigay mo para magkaroon ng hustisya na rito at matapos na ito.
China's first globally released AAA game, Black Myth Wukong, is causing a stir in Taiwan due to its delayed launch on console. Some say that's because of political pressure, but some gaming insiders say Taiwan should stop criticizing and learn from it. Irene Lin reports.
Striking enemies with a staff in a movement like lightning. This is Black Myth Wukong, China's first blockbuster video game with top-tier graphics, voice acting, and sales. According to third-party statistics, Black Myth surpassed $850 million in gross revenue just 2 weeks after its global release, more than 10 times its budget. The anthropomorphic monkey is inspired by the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West, focusing on the story of the Monkey King Sun Wukong, one of the leads in the original novel. Gamers in Taiwan are among millions around the world giving the game positive reviews, putting aside the political divide between China and Taiwan.
它好玩是公认的事情，那就玩了，不要扯那些政治有的没的。
Here at the Guanghua Digital Plaza, a computer and electronics hub in Taipei, there's been an explosion of interest in buying the hardware needed to play a game like Wukong.
电脑没那么好，他可能想要去做体验的部分，他可能就会需要做提升。有因为黑悟空而来升级的客源是有的，是还有一部分是蛮多的。
我们也是放着这样子给顾客去玩，这样子，让我们去体会说大概要什么效能才可以去跑。有没有设一个预算？
大概3万。
The game's success shouldn't come as a surprise. While Taiwan and China are at odds on the world stage, when it comes to culture, the two shares a common heritage, and the Monkey King story is a big part of that. But it's left some wondering, why can't Taiwanese stories succeed in the same way? Taiwanese games have achieved some success, notably those from developer Red Candle. But while Black Myth is drawn from a centuries-old novel, these Taiwanese hits have often touched on the country's difficult history and politics. The 2019 game Devotion was removed from all major sales platforms after gamers found hidden messages mocking Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The legendary setting of Black Myth has by comparison given it a wide appeal.
So when we pick a topic, we always want to show the world what Taiwan is about. But to a Western audience, Chinese cultural background is a lot more general and a lot more familiar. But I think you need to draw people in before you can start trying to show them what you want to show them. And Black Myth Wukong does that.
Black Myth's developers have also tried to distance themselves from any controversial topics, even asking reviewers to steer clear of topics like communism, feminism, and COVID-19. And beyond the subject matter, few gamers in Taiwan are aiming for the kind of sales numbers Black Myth has reached. For that to change, a long-term vision is needed.
台湾厂商的心态也不一样，他可能就是一开始锁定就是亚洲的地区，所以如果我们真的是要有一个就是行销全球的话，就是当然政府支持，还有这个公司的决心，然后还有就是它整个在 IP 选择，然后或是原创议题上面选择，都要做不同定位。你也可以看到小团队透过科技还有 AI 来帮助一些巧思，它可以做出3A 级游戏。那我觉得这反而是这整件事里面我非常关注的一个面向。
Black Myth's breakout success has shown that games inspired by Chinese culture can succeed in an industry that has traditionally been dominated by Western and Japanese titles. But while gamers enjoy putting the Monkey King through his paces, the wait for Taiwan's own Black Myth goes on. Howard Zhang and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
To learn more about Black Myth Wukong's PlayStation digital release in Taiwan, Irene Lin spoke to Duck Chang, a representative for the game's potential Taiwanese distributor Titan, in an exclusive interview.
What's the process of approving Chinese video games in Taiwan?
台湾对于中国制的游戏会有除了游戏分级以外，会有额外的一个治安审查的这个审查的制度。那这个审查制度行之有年，但是过去的作品其实主要是上架手游或是 PC 版的线上游戏。那在单机的游戏，特别是 PS5 的游戏来说，其实几乎是第一款。
During the assessment process, what's stalling Black Myth Wukong's developer Game Science from signing the distribution contract?
他要在上市前先把这个完整的内容先送给台湾的委外的实验室去做审查，这个对一些开发商来说，他可能会比较有顾虑啦，因为这个可能关系到他的游戏内容有可能会外流的问题，所以我们相信这个可能是影响说 PS 版本的审查会在有这个延迟的主要原因。
How long could it take for the PlayStation digital version to hit the shelves?
合约完成签署以后，我们就会继续后续的送件。那这部分时程就如同数发部这边公布的，其实会在1个月内可以完成，包含送审还有数位版的上架。比较保守来说，可能大概是抓在年底前会上市。
That was Duck Chang speaking for Taiwanese game distributor Titan. Coming up, a top Taiwanese tech institute gives a Lifetime Achievement Award to the AI superstar founder of Nvidia.
For more stories from here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and around the world, make sure to visit us on social media.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. Taiwan is working to help Vietnam reach its goal of having more high-tech industry. Taiwan made a name for itself as a global leader in chips and offers scholarships to attract international students to train in tech fields in Taiwan. While in Vietnam, our reporter Joyce Dunn met with Hank Han, Taiwan's top envoy to Ho Chi Minh City, to discuss the results of Taiwan's program to support Vietnamese talent.
Given Vietnam's own goals to establish its own semiconductor ecosystem, are you hopeful that Vietnam and Taiwan will work more closely together?
So one thing I have to maybe remind the Vietnamese government that when Taiwan is considering where to set up this semiconductor factory, we have to consider the national security factor. Take United States, Japan, and Germany, for example. Their governments are very flexible when dealing with our high-level officials to visit their countries. But Vietnam is not so willing. We hope they can be very flexible to handle this purely economic investment plan. We can reach a so-called win-win situation. Vietnamese students can get a degree and get a good job. And for Taiwanese enterprises in Taiwan, they can get staffs that they require.
Why is Vietnam's talent pool so important to Taiwan, and how has your team been supporting them?
Actually, since 2016, Vietnamese students have been the biggest source of students. In Taiwan, we have around 27,000 Vietnamese students, which is number one. This year, the Ministry of Education launched a so-called intense program. It's a very good motive for Vietnamese students to join this program. And after the graduation in Taiwan, they can choose to remain in Taiwan or come back to Vietnam to find a job.
That was Hank Han, the Director General of Taiwan's representative office in Ho Chi Minh City. You can check out the rest of our coverage from Vietnam on TaiwanPlus.com. Haiti's government is working to reclaim the nation from violent gangs, extending a state of emergency that has been in place in the capital since March to the whole country. But for Haitians, safety isn't coming fast enough. Harrell Hughes has more.
A perilous road to safety. But for residents of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, it is their only option. Violent gangs have taken over, controlling an estimated 80% of the city, including the major roadways in and out. The only escape is this rocky path through the mountains.
Imagine où m'a monté, m'a tombé, m'a descendu, m'a tombé, mon cycle pour chaver, mon tout ça. L'état pays, pensons l'autre gens.
Port-au-Prince has been under a state of emergency since March, now expanded to include the entire Caribbean nation. The United Nations estimates over 500,000 people have been displaced from the violence, and almost half the population of 11 million is going hungry. The country's newly formed government is working to restore order. But as gangs extend their reach, Haitians have had enough.
Nous sortis pour combattre l'insécurité. Ça fait insécurité, nous pas voulons, nous-mêmes en nous demander pour ça changer.
Visiting the country during this turmoil, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Haiti's interim Prime Minister, Gary Coney, and announced an additional $45 million of humanitarian aid. Blinken also called for a UN-backed security mission here to be extended, a deployment of several hundred Kenyan police officers meant to leave the country next month.
The mission itself needs to be renewed, and that's what we're working on right now. But we also want to make sure that we have something that is reliable, that's sustainable, and we'll look at every option to do that. So a peacekeeping operation would be one such option. I think there are others.
For those displaced by the violence, the security mission and the visit from Blinken are seen as ineffective. Rather than wait for order to be restored, residents of Port-au-Prince have turned to the mountains, far from the gangs, police, and geopolitical players. The path may be perilous, and there is no guarantee of safety on the other side. But for these Haitians desperate for peace, it's the only way forward. James Linden, Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
North Korea has resumed launching balloons containing trash across the border to South Korea. South Korea's military says Pyongyang has launched more than 400 balloons since Wednesday, with some landing in areas north of Seoul. They're part of an ongoing propaganda war between the two sides. In July, Seoul said some North Korean balloons contained timer devices to burst them, potentially causing fires. But no materials that pose a safety risk have been found in this recent wave. Recognizing great achievement in technology and industry. That's what Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute does every year when it names its laureates. This year's award recipients include 2 Taiwanese tech giants from the U.S. I went to the award ceremony in Hsinchu. Nvidia founder and CEO Jensen Huang has received a Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to Taiwan's technological and industrial advancement. He was honored by the Industrial Technology Research Institute, the country's top R&D organization, which named him one of its 2024 laureates on Friday. Huang couldn't be here in Taiwan for the ceremony, but he sent a pre-recorded message.
I deeply treasure the honor of being named an ITRI laureate. Taiwan is the home of Nvidia's cherished partners. Everything Nvidia makes begins in Taiwan. Nvidia has a long history and deep friendship with Taiwan. My first trip back in 1995 to visit Morris Chang and TSMC changed the trajectory of Nvidia.
Every year, ITRI recognizes multiple laureates, people who have made significant contributions to Taiwan's technological advancement. This year, AMD Chair and CEO Lisa Su also received the honor.
This honor represents the collective efforts of the global AMD team and the strong partnerships we have built. At AMD, we share ITRI's vision of accelerating growth and innovation within the tech industry. Together, we have the ability to shape a future where technology serves as a force of good, empowering people and enhancing every aspect of our daily lives.
Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan and moved to the United States at an early age. At 30 years old, he founded tech company Nvidia, which was briefly the most valuable company in the world by market capitalization. ITRI says Huang was an easy choice for this year's laureate honor.
He is creative. He doesn't follow the track. He is persistent and continue on his business, and he becomes so successful. After that, he basically drive all the AI technology development and whole world. So he kept all the manufacturing research and keep all the connection with Taiwan.
Huang's award comes at a difficult time for his company. Nvidia's stock price has been declining steadily over the past few weeks, despite posting record revenues in the second quarter of this year as confidence in the AI sector wanes. His company is also being investigated for alleged antitrust activity. But one thing remains clear: Taiwan and the rest of the world expect great things from Jensen Huang. Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao in Hsinchu for TaiwanPlus. Cerebral palsy can severely impact a person's motor and verbal skills, making it almost impossible to pursue a passion for music. But as Reese Ayers reports, one workshop in Taipei is finding ways to make music accessible to all.
60-year-old Yuan Mei Feng has long had an interest in music. But due to being diagnosed with a form of cerebral palsy at 6 months old, her physical limitations made pursuing it a challenge.
我有兴趣，可是我的手没办法。我有去碰过吉他，可是这只手完全没办法。
But now she's had an opportunity to express her inner rhythm. Yuan, alongside her classmates, is learning to make music, despite the neurological disorders that affect their motor skills. The 12-week course in music production is a collaboration between the Taipei Music Center and Taiwan's Cerebral Palsy Association, offering students much more than a chance to create their own music.
就是音乐在我们的生活里面其实是垂手可得，然后我们跟音乐连结也很强，所以它会带给我们很大的安全感。
Facing different physical and vocal limitations, the students explore different ways to make their own unique sounds.
你可以把你的声音录下来，它可以成为你的乐器当中的一部分，它有的时候可以当节奏，对不对？
Already halfway through their program, the students use accessible software to produce entire songs, with help from music industry experts.
I've been trying to make them tap their feet a little bit, and try to feel the groove in the body, and try to feel it in your, just every part of your bones. I think that's the magic trick over there with music anyway, yeah.
Cerebral palsy, or CP, appears in early childhood and can vary greatly in severity. It permanently impacts movement and coordination, often affecting a person's speech functions. Through rhythm games and by manipulating a variety of musical instruments, students engage their motor skills, an important form of physical therapy for people with cerebral palsy. CP is one of the most prevalent conditions impacting movement in the world, affecting around 3.3 in every 1,000 births in Taiwan. The roughly 70,000 people living with CP in Taiwan face unique challenges throughout their entire lives.
那根据年纪的这个增长，它就有不同的挑战、不同的问题，还有不同的困难哈。像在学校里面求学，它需要有一些无障碍空间，那需要有一些课业上面的调整。
But with support and opportunities like this music production course, people like Yuan Meifeng can pursue passions that previously felt out of reach.
希望能够有机会能够为自己创作出一首歌。
Karma Xu and Reese Ayres in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Finally today, New York Fashion Week is not just for people. Check out these pups strutting their stuff on the runway at Sony Hall. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.